and the omnibus. So I was forced into the Archers when I was a child. And look, it's come back to bite me later on. I'm awash with this stuff.
The Archers is the world's longest-running radio show, with more than 15,000 episodes broadcast. Despite being a rural flavour show, The Archers is recorded in the heart of the UK's second-largest city, Birmingham.
Welcome along to the Deep Dive. This is where we take materials you send our way, dig into them, and pull out the key insights so you get the essence fast.
And today, we've got something a little unusual, actually. It's an episode of BBC Radio 4's The Archers.
That's right, specifically the one from Wednesday, May 7th, 2025.
Now, I know what you might be thinking, a radio soap. But honestly, it works like a really concentrated snapshot of community life.
Yeah, you get all these interconnected issues playing out: resilience, personal struggles, community bonds. It's surprisingly rich.
Exactly. So our mission, if you like, for this deep dive is to kind of unpack the different storylines going on in Ambridge right now.
We want to pull out those core themes, figure out the dilemmas the characters are wrestling with, and basically give you a clear picture of their current world.
Okay, so where do we start? I guess the big one is the fallout from that meat contamination scare.
Yeah, the episode really kicks off with that still hanging in the air. Freddy's talking about it, and it's clear it hasn't just, disappeared.
No, definitely not. And what comes through is Vince's handling of it. He managed to shut down some of the initial sort of crazies narrative, didn't he?
And blocked that online footage of Saskia.
Right. So some success there in the immediate term. But the product recalls, that seems to have done lasting damage to public perception. It really shows how trust works, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Containing the initial blast is one thing, but rebuilding that confidence, especially with food, that takes time. A lot of time.
And it's having real concrete consequences for Freddy, personally. That academy contract he was working on.
It's like it's dead in the water now.
Pretty much. Parental concerns are just too high. Freddy mentioned the specific worry, didn't he? Something like...
Yeah, poison, meat, and school meals. You can understand why parents would be wary.
You really can. It's interesting. Vince seems, more upbeat about the supermarkets coming back eventually. He sees that as maybe just a matter of time.
But the schools are a different beast entirely.
Oh, completely. Liability, kids' health, it's a much, much bigger hurdle.
And you really feel Freddy's disappointment. This wasn't just another contract for him, was it? He called it his project.
Yeah, there's a personal investment there. It really highlights how fragile things can be when a crisis hits. Even if you weren't directly, responsible for the core issue, the ripple effects can just derail everything you've built.
Those knock-on effects are brutal.
Definitely. It impacts livelihoods, future plans. It's a tough situation for him. He's got that conversation coming up at the head of the academy chain, too.
Oof, yeah. Okay, so moving on from Bridge Farm's woes, there's also a lot happening around Rashelle.
Yes, quite a bit. Joy's involved, apologizing to Freddy and Elizabeth.
How about Rochelle's behavior, and specifically that incident at Casey Meets?
Exactly. And then there's the news that Rashelle actually got bail.
Which means this whole thing is far from over, legally or personally.
Not at all. And Joy's apology, it really speaks to her feeling of responsibility, doesn't it?
It does. And then you hear about Freddy's history with Rashelle, how he helped her get a job.
And now he feels really let down. It's that classic painful dynamic of trust and betrayal.
Yeah, when you've gone out on a limb for someone.
It's tough.
Yeah.
And Joy seems caught in the middle, reflecting on her past relationship with Rashelle, feeling responsible, but still hoping, maybe, for some kind of reconciliation down the line.
That's complex, isn't it? Holding on to hope even when things look pretty bleak.
Very. It shows the strength, or maybe the sheer difficulty of cutting family ties, even when there's been real harm done. Elizabeth seems quite understanding, trying to reassure Joy.
Which is a little bit of light, maybe, that community support, even in difficult personal moments.
I think so. It ties into that theme of how personal lives and public events kind of crash into each other.
Right. And while all that's going on, everyday Ambridge life carries on too. We hear about the VE Day exhibition.
Yes. Victory in Europe Day at Ambridge Hall. Chelsea and Brad are doing research.
Trying to find that local angle, give it a real Ambridge flavor.
Which is great, isn't it? Connecting the big historical event to the small community scale. Plus, there's buzz about the Village Hall events, the WI.
The Women's Institute, yeah, it shows that community rhythm just keeps going.
It does. Even down to things like the missing cat.
Hilda and Peggy being quite attached to her. It's the small details that paint the picture.
They really do.
Yeah.
And Joy popping around with the poster for the village events, and Elizabeth being happy to put it up. It's a tiny interaction, but it speaks to that underlying community connection.
Yeah, these little moments of just, well, normal village life happening alongside the bigger dramas. It feels important for holding things together.
Absolutely. It shows that despite the crises and the personal struggles, the shared life of the village, the shared history, it still matters. It's a source of continuity.
And speaking of individual struggles, we also get a glimpse into Clary's situation.
Right. She's doing that trial period at Ambridge Hall in the Orangery, covering holidays.
Yeah, but it's clear that's not really what she needs long term. She needs something stable.
A proper job, as she puts it. Regular wages, not just bits and pieces of hours here and there.
Yeah.
It's very relatable.
It really is that search for secure employment. And Elizabeth actually has a suggestion, doesn't she?
About an assistant school cook job over at Borchester Green.
So again, that local network potentially helping out.
Exactly. It grounds the episode, reminds us of the basic economic realities people face alongside everything else. Finding decent, stable work is a constant challenge for many.
Keeps it real.
Definitely.
And then, almost as a counterpoint to all the immediate problems, we get this fascinating look back into the past.
Yes, Squadron Leader Dodge. The photos and letters arriving from his granddaughter.
It sounds like quite a story, a life dedicated to helping others.
Right through his life, apparently.
Yeah.
And the discovery of his OBE, Order of the British Empire, for lifetime work in humanitarian aid. That's quite something.
It really is, especially when you think about the context post-war life must have been incredibly challenging.
For sure.
Yeah.
And it makes you reflect on how people process difficult experiences. He channeled his, it seems, into this lifelong commitment to service.
It provides a different kind of perspective, doesn't it? A much longer view compared to the immediate crises Freddy or Joy are dealing with.
It does. It touches on themes of legacy, service, finding purpose.
Yeah.
Maybe finding purpose after going through something significant. It's quite inspiring, actually.
A powerful reminder that lives can have this long, positive trajectory even after hardship. It adds a real layer of depth.
So if you try and pull all these threads together, what do we actually see in this one episode?
Well, there's the ongoing fallout from a major crisis, the reputation damage, the economic impact.
Yeah, navigating that is key.
Mhm.
Then there are the complexities of relationships, trust, betrayal, responsibility, family ties under pressure.
And alongside that, the steady pulse of community life, the VE day preps, the shared history, those small interactions.
Which seems vital for resilience. And then the individual struggles, like Clary's search for stable work.
The everyday economic reality.
Exactly. And finally, they glimpse into the past with Squadron Leader Dodge, offering that theme of long-term service and legacy.
It really does weave together a complex picture, doesn't it? It shows how, well, even a fictional story can reflect these really deep, real-world human experiences and community dynamics.
Absolutely. It's a rich source in its own way.
So that kind of leads us to a final thought for you listening. Thinking about everything going on in Ambridge, the economic hits, the broken trust, the personal dramas, but also the community spirit and individual efforts.
What single factor, if you had to pick one, do you think is the most essential for a community's resilience? Not just to get by, but to actually thrive in the long run.
Is it the economy? Is it trust? Strong leadership? Shared history? Something else entirely?
Yeah, just something to mull over.
Right.
What's the bedrock for a community facing challenges?
So, what are you doing now?
Just getting ready for the next episode. Just
And,
moving mics around.
So, what do you do?
I do the spot effects on the archers. Any
Are you what we
movements
call Foley then?
and- kind of. Yep.
Okay. And these are all part of the paraphernalia of production.
Yep. That's the ball bar.
This one.
Yep. That's.
I mean, Hayley so wanted to be in their own place when their baby came. It's due in 2 months. Not much chance of that now. No. I mean, it would have been a stretch for them financially, mind, but I just wish there was something practical I could do to help them, Caroline. I mean,
I think The Archers has had this immense popularity over the years.
basically because it has always very accurately reflected the reality of life and living in a rural community at whatever